Hello, hello.
Hello?
What's up, dude?
Oh, nothing. Just chilling.
Me too. Me too. So, I guess because I mean, I'm sorry if you told me this already. I get tons of emails, so it's hard to remember everything. But, uh, so my apologies if you did. But go ahead and if you wouldn't mind, let me know what race you are and MMR, and we'll go from there.
I'm Zerg, and I'm around 3k MMR.
Okay, that's like low diamond, or is that
That's Plateau.
okay? Oh, okay. I was like, I just did it and I can't remember. All right, so platinum Zerg level. Uh,
Yeah.
so you're getting, I would say, you're getting more and more on the verge of getting diamond. So obviously, if you have questions about things that are, in my opinion, what are in theory above what diamond is, or sorry, above what platinum is, I am totally fine to go delve into that and answer that with you. But
Mm.
what do you think if you had to categorize it yourself, what do you think your problem is if you could describe it?
Well, I played the game for like 3 months right now,
Okay.
and most of the time I have no idea what I'm doing actually. I'm just winging it
Sure.
and playing.
Makes sense. It's an honest
And
answer. it's a,
yeah,
yeah,
like
I like it. That's because sometimes I'll hear. Well, it's more of a gauge to see how confident you are in yourself, as well, and
yeah,
the fact that you're brand new to the game and you're plat already is really good. A lot of people honestly don't make it to plat for like a year, if that
okay,
because it depends on how long they play for each day, you know, and like how many breaks they take and how try hard they are and their mindset about how to improve. So
yeah,
plat in a couple months is really good. Especially you're not even at
okay,
the bottom
yeah,
of plat, you're in the middle. So that's
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Also, sorry if if I interrupt you at all. Feel free to keep talking. I'll stop talking. It's not a big deal to me.
yeah. I'm also yeah.
Okay,
So
sure. But yeah, no, that's really good. And I guess we can progress the coaching lesson in any way here, where I could either give you a kind of a like I could run you through a format that works for you exactly, or I mean, if I guess if you have replays, we could.
yeah, I was watching one of your videos where you said using Vipers is kinda not good if you're not master level.
Yeah, 100%.
And and I kept running your Roach Hydra
Okay.
into Colossi, and I just couldn't break the Protoss at all.
Okay. Uh,
And there, either if I made some Corruptors, maybe could have helped me to win the
so
game, or I was
it's
thinking maybe a Viper could have done something.
a lot of times what it'll come down to is this is a way I would want you to start looking at the game, because this is going to start happening to you as you get higher level, because there are going to be plenty of opponents that are going to just be able to not die on their current base count
Hmm.
based on what you're doing. And yes, if you're good enough at the game and you can do enough like crazy micro strategies that you could break them and stuff like this, but you're going to start running into a situation where not breaking someone is actually going to become more common than you think. Uh, I would say this probably will start happening to you somewhere in Diamond League, probably not below that as much, but what really it comes down to is it's not about every attack that you do needs to just kill the Protoss. So when a player thinks to themselves, well, if I go Roach Hydra and this guy's going Colossus, I can't kill him because he's just, you know, he's just got Colossus and they're really good against Roach Hydra. And I'm not gonna lie, Colossus are pretty good. I'm not gonna say that
Yeah.
they're bad at all. But the real thing is if you go Roach Hydra against Protoss, who's going for Colossus, you have the ability to remax way faster than he does. And if you just constantly attack the Protoss from an angle which he is trying to set up new bases at, or if he hasn't set up a base yet, you confirm that there are no bases there yet, what you can do is you can starve him out, because you actually never let him expand, because every time he does try to set up a new one, you kill it first. And it's way easier to kill that when it's fully exposed, because I imagine when you say you're dying to people who go Colossus defensively, it's probably because you're engaging into choke points that are artificially created by the Protoss, where you're engaging his base and his army at the same time, and he's just getting
Yeah.
really good setups on you. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Like yeah. That can like I tried to like we like I lost my entire armor almost, and he did, and I remax, and I come back, and I still couldn't. Like I kept attacking and attacking, and he was on 3 bases, and I was on 4 or 5 bases,
Sure.
and eventually I just ran out of money actually,
Well,
and then
did
he
you?
just
Let me ask you a question though. Did you run out of money, or did the map run out of money?
I could have expended more.
Yeah.
But he went for an attack when I did, like, after I attacked him, and I lost one base and a little bit too many workers, and then he managed to expand as well during that attack.
What I would say is if you're doing it right, if your macro is up to par and you're going Roach Hydra, which is very larva cheap, you should be able to attack your opponent, whatever composition they're going for, and you should be attacking them with a maxed out army, but you should already be preparing for a new maxed out army while you even start moving out of your base, because you're not only generating money as fast as you can, so ideally you don't want to have idle workers like mining poorly. Like, you don't want to have 16 drones on a base that only has 8 potential available. And then, so you're expanding, you're constantly keeping your money pumping at full power, and then you continue to inject at full power, you're creep spreading at full, as much as you can while you attack. So you're giving yourself more map control, and it's making it harder for Protoss to actually take back part of the map, because it's literally covered in creep. And then if you were to attack a Protoss and you lose your whole army, before he even gets to be able to, your base to be there and to counterattack you, you should already be maxed again. Because if whatever dies gets rebuilt, so like let's say your army is 60 units, and you're able to generate 60 larvae, like, because you got to realize, let's say the second you max out, your units are in eggs still, like you're making roaches and hydras from your brand new max you just got, and it's all still in eggs and it's not spawned yet. All that time that you're waiting for those eggs to finish is time that you're setting up larvae for your next max out, and then finally your units spawn and you go across the map to attack your opponent, and that's again time that you're setting up larvae for your next max out, for your remax.
Yeah.
And it's more time than you might realize, where you have like realistically about probably 90 seconds to like 2 minutes per wave to remax. And if you have a good amount of queens injecting hatcheries, like 3 or 4, and then if you have because again usually it'll always be 3, and then you could if you feel like you don't need a creep spreading queen anymore, you could have that last queen go to inject a base as well and just do the rapid fire inject thing on it. And suddenly,
I usually like I creep spread a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when the game gets hectic, I kind of ignore creep spreading, because that's too much brain power at the moment for me.
Sure.
To think of creep spreading, and I focus on injecting. Like, I always have one queen on each base when I'm for inject. And also it's kind of good if someone is attacking the base, I can attack a little bit with the queen.
I have an interesting idea that I feel like could help you in general, and I think what we can do is we can go into a replay as well in a second here. But what I want you to do is I want you to go into a replay hop on a StarCraft for me if you wouldn't mind, and then I want you to play a game, and it could be against a person, it could be against AI. I just want to see how you actually.
How I actually play.
Yeah, and I'll have you share your screen to me, and I'll kind of get an idea on what your screen looks like while you're playing the game.
I'm actually playing on ultra wide, so it's gonna be a little bit scuffed.
Okay, I actually didn't play StarCraft on ultra wide.
I have black bars on the side.
That's fine. That's not a big deal.
StarCraft should be up now.
Okay. And you you could either I guess all you gotta do is just go to you don't have to invite me to a party or anything like that. You can just go to custom on the top and then go to melee, and then if you pick one of the top 7 maps that appear there, it'll be any of those other ladder maps.
Yeah. I usually go into a custom game to warm up a little bit.
Okay. And then I'll get I'll get an idea on what you're doing.
So I start?
Yeah, go for it. Okay. So I just want to kind of see how you're doing it, like what your game looks like when you play, and we'll do this for no, it doesn't have to be a long time. We're just gonna do this for probably like 10 minutes or less. I just want to see like how you inject your bases, and get a feel for how you're playing the game. Oh boy. Okay, there we go. Alright, he can't hear me right now. I'm not going to distract him, but this definitely looks like shit, guys. It looks so fucking laggy. Oh my
wait,
goodness.
I fucked up. Oh wait, I completely fucked up.
Okay, so if you fuck up like that, yeah, you can just do a gas trick. So build a new drone, and then cancel your gases right after.
Yeah.
And then build that overlord.
Yeah, I saw someone actually. I don't remember who it was, but oh, it's a little bit nervous.
No, I get you 100%. I totally understand. I'm not judging at all. I'm not gonna really get on top of you and critique you about you know, you messing up a drone here and there. I just want to see like what it looks like when you're doing the mechanics of Zerg.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry guys, this looks fucking terrible. Again, he can't hear me at the moment. I don't know why the connection's so goddamn bad for this video. Maybe his computer can't handle it or something.
I
I don't know.
usually spam a little bit early game just to keep the fingers going.
Yeah, I know you're all good. That's also exactly what I do. I mean, it's something you don't have to do it, but I definitely approve of it because I feel like it's a rhythm that keeps you into a good mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I'm not gonna get too hard on you about the build order. And if this is gonna be Roach Hydra, you took your gas too fast. But I'm not, that's the last thing I'll say about your build order because I'm not watching this for the build order. Build order is way easier to explain to somebody. I just want to see your habits, and I'm not again. You might be nervous, but yeah.
I do this every game actually.
Okay, it's
This
way too early. You're doing a speedling build, and you're not going speedlings.
Okay. And then also I get the speed on my links as well every game.
Okay, it's not necessary if you're not gonna go lings, just because it's like things aren't free and it slows you down. But the main thing I want to see is I want to see your macro cycles. That's all I really want to see.
Okay.
Like I want to see what an average macro cycle looks like for you. And I'm looking at your mineral line right now, and like right now, if you look at it really closely, on the middle left, like a little bit below the left two patches, you have 3 and 1 on the two patches next to each other. And one of those, the one that has 1 has it's a close patch, which definitely needs to be improved.
Wait, where is it?
It's the 3rd patch down on the left, and then the 4th patch down on the left. There's one of there you go, perfect, fixed, good shit. That kind of shit is definitely gonna hurt you in the long run if you don't fix that.
Is it really that bad?
Yeah, no, because you're gonna miss out by the time you mine out those patches, you're gonna miss out on like probably 200 minerals.
Okay.
Like, and you're gonna eventually get it. So that's the thing is you eventually will make that money back, but in StarCraft 2, if someone says, well, like think about like racing for a second. Like if you have a guy who says I can do I can finish this race in 90 seconds, and you have another guy who says, well, I'll finish it in 94 seconds or like 95 seconds. Well, time is really important, just like it is in StarCraft. Like this game is literally like a race to see who can macro faster, and then it becomes multitasking later. So if you can help yourself to not get behind for no reason, you definitely want to try to make sure you don't get behind. And fixing mineral patches like that is so easy for your main base.
Okay.
Okay, so so far your macro cycles have been not bad. Definitely want to make another queen on your main.
Okay.
Or
Like
sorry,
it-
on your
that's,
natural or whatever. Go ahead, sorry.
On natural?
Yeah, I just
Yeah, because I don't know when to make like queens.
Yeah.
And
well, I'll tell you right
yeah,
now,
stuff like
what
that.
you're doing. I'll like again, we're not focusing on the build too much, but that's why we'll talk about that in the replay. But what you're doing right now is you're doing 2 different builds at the same time. You're doing a beta gym build mixed with a speedling build, and it's going to that is a big reason why it's shit. Like you'll be like, wow, I can't max as fast as ZvP can. Like that is going 100% going to slow you down.
Okay.
Like for instance, if you get attacked right now, like if this is your average build, you have no way to defend yourself because you don't have a roach horn and you have no roaches and you have no layer to have roach speed with either.
Yeah.
You like this build needs speedlings, and if you're not going speedlings, then it's it's a bit rough. Okay, so again, but so far your mechanics up to this point have been fine.
Okay.
Not that bad. Like you're definitely spreading creep as much as you can, and your injected larva on your queens is not bad either. So this is better than I expected for your mechanics. But I imagine, well, for the opener for sure. Because the thing is, a lot of times when people are like, I just can't break somebody, it's hard for me to break my opponent, and like for instance, if you're like, I don't even care what unit they say, but like for you in your case it was Colossus, and it's totally fine. But what the thing is whenever someone says that to me, a lot of times the immediate thought I have in my head is they're probably just really slow at macroing, or they're doing something inefficient with their macro. But in your case, it's not so much about your mechanics of the race; it's about your build, honestly. And
Yeah.
your build, it's two builds in one, and if you do something like that in StarCraft, it starts to have a problem. Now,
Okay.
I mean, I know I'm talking to you. I know I'm distracting the crap out of you. But if you ever do this as well, now with like the larva that you have, this is massive in terms of how much it hurts you.
Yeah, usually I make roaches in
Okay.
the middle somewhere.
Okay. Sure. Because I know
But
I don't want to critique it too because I know this is just like a little macro, like a little mechanical test. But your mechanics look fine. Okay, so we can jump out of this game. We don't have to be in here anymore. I just want to see how fast you can inject and shit. And what you're doing already there looks pretty decent.
Okay.
So that was fine. Okay, so now we'll make a party inside StarCraft 2, and let's actually jump into one of your replays.
Okay.
All right. So what you can do is you can either type. I'll type it in Discord so you can just see exactly what it looks like. You can type that without the period, and that'll join you in the channel that I'm in. Or you can go to my group chat if that somehow doesn't work. But hopefully the first way works, just because it's super easy and fast.
Okay, I joined it.
Okay, so are you on NA or are you on EU?
I'm on EU.
Okay, I am coming over to Europe. Dun, dun, dun. All right, and then I will join it as well. Okay, sick. I see you. Awesome. All right, I'll make you a group lead so you can host the replay, whatever one you want to look at, and then
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find the one with Colossi.
Sure. And then after you make it, don't start the game right away. Make sure before you start it, make me just a lobby host in the lobby of the replay.
Yeah. Is there an easy way to find it?
Did you ever title it?
No, I can do it now.
Well, if you didn't title it, the only way you're gonna know then is if you like you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard, and you can like go down and like just keep your eyeballs on the right side, or you can look at if you remember his name. You can also see the matchup like Zerg vs Protoss, Zerg vs Terran.
So I go in. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because that way you don't have to keep moving your eyes left and right to look at the map and then look back and look at the map and click and stuff.
They should add a search function to this.
Yeah, that's why you gotta always make those replay title names so it makes it 10 times faster to like go back and find it later. Because yeah, I mean if you don't title it and it's just if it's like let's say Lightshade LE 5 or 52 or 117, you're just like okay, what the fuck, what is it? Then it has to be like when did I play that?
Yeah.
And if you can't find that one specifically, it's I mean, ideally I would say you could take a moment to look for it. Don't feel rushed at all. This is obviously your coaching lesson. So take your time and look for it if that's what you want to do. That's totally fine. But if you can't...
Yeah, I felt I played really well that game.
Sure.
Like, and then it was... Because it happens like the same thing happens against Terrans as well.
Yeah.
Like I just can't... They just turtle up and chillax. I try to kill them and nothing happens, and then Battle Cruiser shows up and kill me.
Yeah. So like I mean I will say like your again your mechanics didn't look like they were under plat level there from what I saw, but it could also be decision making because there's a lot of factors that can go into it, like how long you sit there with your army if you're already like ready to go, your scouting of bases, of expansions, and then not only all of this, but overall just checking your build with a checkpoint and seeing two things. One of them is how fast do you initially max, and the second thing is how fast or how long does it take you to remax like repeatedly. And a lot of times what people struggle with isn't the initial max once they're like up, like we're kind of where you are in the upper platinum range, like mid upper plat. It's no longer really about, for most people there, it's no longer really about the initial max. It's mostly about the remax, and people struggle like crazy with the remax. Because it's again, it's not supposed to be a game where you win in one fight. It's supposed to be a game where it's like you have like It's like you're just like smashing them over the head with a hammer over and over and over and over and over and over,
Yeah.
and then eventually they break. Because your army has no real finesse to it. It's just like literally it's as strategic as literally hitting someone with a hammer. You're just like, all right, let's hit them over and over with this one little basic attack.
Oh wait. If I move the replay out from the folder,
It won't be in
it
the.
won't be
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
it won't be in there, right?
yeah,
So that's. Wait,
you can put it back in your document. It's so yeah, if you know where it is, it's the documents folder for StarCraft 2 replays. You can put it back in there, and then it'll be in there again.
Right. Accidentally turned off StarCraft.
No worries.
Yeah, that's why, because I took them out, so I would be able to find them.
You're all good. No worries.
And then yeah. Okay.
All right.
I sent you an invite.
I got it.
Then it should be somewhere.
Another thing you can do too, to make it really, really, really fast and easy for yourself for the future, if you ever want to do something like this again, is if you make a new folder inside your replay folder in StarCraft. Like, you don't do it in the game,
Okay.
you do it in your actual like folder on your desktop. You could call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Like, call it saved replays or whatever. It'll always be at the top of your list when you're inside StarCraft 2 and you hit replays. That will just have a folder there you can open, and it'll be the replays that are just specifically you want to save there. So it's a really easy way to do it.
Okay.
All right, that's cool. You gave me host, and then let's see what's going on in this game for you. Hell yeah.
Do I watch? Do you stream?
I would.
on Discord?
It's up to you. If I'll share the screen with you, and if you want to watch my perspective, that way you'll see how I click my mouse around. And yeah,
that will be easier.
and then actually, yeah, you should do that because I have stream delay as well. So if you were to like watch the stream, you would definitely not want to fucking deal with that shit. Okay, so basically, back to you. Let's get this shit going. And again, like right now, I'll say it again one more time because it is really relevant. Patches on these do mine faster than these patches, and then if you think about, if it was only one trip, like if the drone literally touched it once and went back to the hatchery and once and that was it, and I was like, okay, so you get a 0.004 millisecond, like fucking, this is like milliseconds of advantage right there. I'd be like, okay, worthless to tell you this. This is absolutely worthless to tell you to stack the patches because it's like one trip, but it's not one trip. It's whatever this number is divided by 5. That's how many trips it's going to be because it's 5 minerals per trip. So that's suddenly a lot more trips right there that you're going to be taking. That's what is that? It's like like 350 trips or some shit, 370 trips. I don't even know. It's a lot of trips essentially. So they add up really fast over time. And if you're doing it with every patch, you also multiply that by 8. If that's assuming it's efficient, right? Because if it's not efficient, you're multiplying it instead of by 8, you're now multiplying it by like 7.5 or something like that because you're getting bad efficiency on drones if they're not stacked properly. So it's it definitely adds up over time, and every second that goes by, you lose little by little, more and more and more. And the easiest way to know
I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
It says like when it's 16 out of 16 workers and then it starts going down.
Mm-hmm.
Do I remove workers
Yes,
from
you
the?
do. Yep.
Okay.
So the goal is what you want to do is you want to that's obviously going to be later in the game. You want to be ripping drones off as they drop, and then I'm not telling you to like restack patches then and be like, oh, I gotta make it perfect because more patches are going to disappear, and it's whatever. It's only really important at the low part of the game when you have no drones to stack properly. You don't even need to do it on your natural or your third anymore because you have so much more going on that you need to do instead. But when your patches from every base do start disappearing, the goal of proper macro, and this is remax again, this is not initial max, this is remax because patches don't disappear till later. The goal is you always have a base open, ready to go to send these drones to now saturate properly again. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. And here's a cool understanding of a number to understand. Patches disappear about every 8 minutes. So your main base, you can look at the game and go, okay, cool. As long as nothing happens to me in this game and I don't, like, adepts don't kill all my drones or something like that, if nothing disrupts my mining really, around 8 minutes, I'm going to start losing patches. And then whenever you take your natural, 8 minutes later, you're going to start losing patches. The next base, same thing. And then that's when patches will start to disappear. And then patches won't fully disappear until 8 minutes after that, roughly. or like 7 minutes after that. And the reason why is because these patches have double. Like, so you have a patch with 900 and a patch with 1800. So it's roughly in intervals of 8 if you want to like an easy way to remember it. It's not like it's going to be exactly 18 minutes though, or 16 minutes for the other one, just because, I mean, again, if you really wanted to get crazy with it and calculate the distance traveled, so this one will mine out a little faster than 8 minutes plus 8 minutes, because it's closer. But you get the point, right? It's if you remember just the 8-minute rule, it'll give you a good estimation of when you should be looking at your drones again, and you should be looking at it all the time, realistically. It's just another way to remember it. All right. So I'm not going to critique you too hard on your build this time. We're going to do a notepad trick, okay? Do you know what the notepad trick is?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to teach you what the notepad trick is. And this will make you understand StarCraft probably a lot better. And this is something you can take to yourself after the lesson is over and be like, all right, sick. I can now, you know, whatever. You can apply this to like the future of how you play this game, like all the time. This is super relevant. You should be doing this whenever you look at anybody's build and try to emulate it. So at 2 minutes, what we're gonna do is every minute that goes by, I'm only gonna write down your worker count and your total supply. That's it. And then we're gonna compare. And I'm gonna do I'm gonna do the BetaGM build for you after this, and I'm gonna give you my timers versus your timers, and we'll see what the builds look like differently. So you're at 2 minutes. You are at 19 workers. And you're at 20 supply, and we'll keep going. Okay, and then you know, you're making your queens. Again, this is just it's a speedling build. That's what you're doing, literally. And I'm not opposed to you doing a speedling build if you're going to actually do a speedling build. But I mean, you're not though, so it's because you're going into road chargers anyways.
Isn't it good to have speedlings early game? Like.
Yes, if you're doing a speedling style. Like, it makes sense if you're actually playing a Ling-based style, but if you're playing a style that is Beta GM Bronze to Plat, which is Roach Hydra, because you're going Roach Hydra, like you're actually using the Beta GM style, which I'm totally all for because it works great in Bronze to Plat. It's because you're not microing anything, and the Lings need to be microed very meticulously to make them effective. So Lings require way more awareness of your army and of the map than Roaches do. Roaches are a unit that it's literally a hammer. You just fucking throw it at someone and you're like, it's probably gonna do damage. But Lings are like precision. They need to not be used like shit, otherwise they're gonna be terrible. Like, yeah, you get the point. I was gonna give you an analogy, but it's whatever. It's repetitive. So if you're going for a Ling based style and the build is speedling based style builds, all that's happening to you right now is what I'm seeing out of you is if you play someone who actually pressures you early game, you're going to get fucking destroyed. Just because if you don't use the Lings to scout properly, Lings need to be scouting properly to make them effective. And then on top of that, if your opponent decides to go aggressive on you and you have no way to make roaches, and let's say the aggression consists of something that can deal with Lings really well, like let's say it's Hellbats, or let's say it's Charge Lots, or let's say it's Banelings and Zerglings of your opponent, like mass roaches or Banelings from your opponent in some way, and you just have Lings and late roaches because you're going for a really greedy third. Yeah, I feel like you're just gonna die. It's gonna be really hard for you not to die here. It's just a risky build.
That actually happens quite a lot.
Yeah, like
I can't build any army and they have like double the army.
Yeah, it's just because your Roach Horn is so delayed and you're exposing yourself in a really greedy way to where if you don't get attacked, it could still be okay. But you're opening yourself to dying to so many different types of early pressures. Because if you play Ling style, you need to actually play the Ling style properly, which has so much more map control than you might realize. Like you need, basically, this is the best way to describe it in a very simple way. If you go for a speedling based playstyle, you have to be at a level, or you have to at least be acquiring the skill to get to the level and like understanding what route you're going down to basically know what your opponent's going to do the entire game before they do it. And if you don't have that knowledge, you're not playing speedling builds right. So if you're literally guessing, like, I don't know, that's way better for roaches because you don't need to know what they're doing with roaches. Roaches are a fucking hammer you throw at somebody and they're like, oh, they're attacking me, throw the hammer, and I hit them in the head, now it's over. All right. So okay, we go back for a second. Sorry. Go ahead. You tell me what you were gonna say.
Nothing really happens the first like 6 minutes in this game.
I'm just gonna notepad trick your timers down so we can give you a real understanding of time here. So you now are at 26 workers at 3 minutes, and you're at 34 supply. Okay, going to the next one. So yeah, I mean, we can definitely speed through the early part, because your build will be, you'll realize how crazy it is if we talk about the build. Okay, and then the 4-minute mark, you are now at 38 workers, and you're at 40 supply. And just keep this in mind, okay, the whole time. Right now, you have no scout of his base, really. Like, look at his main base is completely blacked out. And you do see a couple stalkers here and a couple gateways and a wall and a battery. This is just a Protoss playing safe. But you have no idea right now if this is Stargate, if this is Robo, if this is Council, if this is going to become DTs. You have no idea of anything at the moment, and it's okay. And you have another one on its, or is it coming? No, it's chilling. Okay. So again, you're just playing a blind game at the moment, right? And if this guy were to actually attack you, there's a very high chance you would just die.
Yeah, this is how I usually play.
Okay.
I just chillax and do my own shit.
Yeah. It was something that I'm not gonna lie. It would be fine if you don't get attacked, because you are actually building drones, but I don't want you to get the wrong impression here and go, well, Vibe, you said my build's not great, and why does your build potentially have less workers than mine does? And there's when I do my build for you, there's a very good chance you're gonna have more workers than I do at some of these checkpoints, because you have a third so fucking fast. But at the same time, the build that I'm going to show you, it cannot die. To early pressures, it's very hard for it to die. It's got a very high survive rate, essentially. But this build can die to everything. Your opponent breathes on this build and it fucking dies. So it's scary.
But I also have I'm kind of bad at balancing army and the workers also.
That comes from checkpoints. It's so there's checkpoints when you would actually make army supply. They're called safety units, and you stop making units for a moment to make safety units, and you go right back into making drones again afterwards. You have checkpoints that you hit, and the reason why it's really good is because all you need to know is you go, oh well, my opponent is he's taking a natural, so now the checkpoints all make sense for the checkpoint number 2 because he took a natural, and then then checkpoint number 1 makes sense because if he one bases all into you. Checkpoint number 1 is going to be in time to deal with units if he one base all into you. And then checkpoint number 1 and 2 are the only ones that really have to be understood, because if your opponent decides to be aggressive on either one of these checkpoints, you're going to be able to have initial units there to deal with an all-in, and then you can just make more if it's an all-in. So if your Overlord sees he never has a natural and he starts attacking you while you start making your first round of safety units, and again, it always is the same thing. You can be like, oh, well, how about I just don't stop making units now because he's all-inning me on one base and he doesn't have a natural, even though I have a fully saturated natural right now. So I'm ahead in workers and I'll just make more units. Same thing with, again, the second checkpoint is if he 2-base all-ins you, you'll have units there initially to set up the defense there, and you can just make more while you get all-in. And then that's the last one that matters, because after that, you hit your drone count. If he doesn't all-in you, essentially. After that, you'll have your ideal drone count. That's done. You're finished now, and you just make units all game from then on. So now you're in the unit phase all game anyways. Okay, 64 supply. Okay, moving on. Okay, going forward. And okay, go back just slightly. I don't want to cheat on this thing. Gotta get the exacts here. Okay, 6 minutes, and now we got 55 workers and 66 supply. That was a humongous one for you. That was not efficient. And here's this is something that people don't realize, because the notepad trick is gonna. If you want another explanation of it as well, again, we're talking about it now, but I talk about this in the intro of Beta GM as well. It's a good technique that teaches people how to reference a clock in the game. But here's an example, okay? In between 5 minutes and 6 minutes, that whole minute of time, and this is now much later in the game when you're not having only 12 workers, you have 50 plus workers. Your whole supply in this point of the game grew 3 workers and only 2 supply. So you probably built another gas or another building or something, like a Roach Warren or whatever. Like you actually, or the spore crawlers even. You lost supply. You actually went, you went up 3 workers and up 2 supply. So even though you have 3 more workers, you actually lost them. You know, it's not 3 to 3 is what I'm trying to say. So you get the point. It's not very a big grow there. There's very little growth. So if you think about StarCraft 2 in a way, like think about like a graph, okay, where the graph should be exponentially growing, because the faster your worker count grows, the faster everything should grow. And what just happened to you is you were actually doing that from minute 2, 3 to 4. Like you actually were growing at a faster pace every minute, and then minute number 5 you kind of plateaued for a while there. And this is something in your build where it's going to have a problem for you, right? And then you could go back and look at it very specifically and go, okay, well, what the hell did I do between 4 and 5? Why did I plateau out right there? And it could be something like, what if you made like 6 overlords at once and you stopped making units and you just made a fuckload of overlords instead? Or you make static D and, you know, you're just sitting there. What if you're not spinning your larva? Like you have 9 larvae right there and 1,800 minerals. What if you're not just spinning your resources?
Yeah.
What? Hold on. Oh, shit, you're right. Sorry. Okay, you know what? My bad. Someone just said, Vibe, you're looking at the wrong supply. Okay, I'm an idiot.
Oh, you
I know, for that last one. For that last one. I actually looked at the Protoss supply. You actually have 76, not 66. I was about to say, like, what the fuck? Okay, yeah, my bad. It's, or it's 77. 77. Okay, my bad. My bad. Okay, we're good. We're back on track. Okay, going forward. And 7 minutes. Oh my god. It's fucking... Okay, 7 minutes. We're at... I'm looking at you, 100% I promise. 61 workers and 120 supply. So that was definitely a big grow in your army right there. I would say, and then, you know, that's good. That's all good. And then going forward, back now to 8 minutes. Oh my god. Okay, whatever. We'll just take it. 8 minutes. You have 79 drones, and you have 145 supply. Okay, so we want to just see your initial max, and then we're not going to write down the timers anymore after that because it kind of is irrelevant then, because the build-up phase is over, and then we're just going to look at the game and see how you play during a remax. Okay, so we're almost there. So your initial max was not bad at all. You actually maxed out at 8 minutes and... Okay, come on. It's like right around here. 8 minutes and 40... 48. 8:48 is when you maxed out. Okay, so 8, we'll write that down. Now we're no longer using the exact timer anymore. So 8 minutes and 48 seconds, you now have 84 workers, and you have 200 supply. So this is like the cutoff of your build. You've maxed out, so now that phase of the game is over. And just keep in mind though, the only thing I don't like about what just happened though, like you maxed out at a respectable time. This is very respectable at your first max, okay? But your build was incredibly risky to do it. It's the only thing I don't like about it. Because if you get attacked by anything, you're gonna die.
Well, that's yeah, I don't know, like that's how I learned myself to play. And
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's greedy and it's efficient to a degree, but at the same time, like if you play that way at a higher level and you start playing people who harass you at all, your whole build's gonna fall apart. Everything just melts apart, and you're gonna like, well, shit. And it's only gonna start happening more and more and more as the game grows. As you grow in skill level is what I mean. Okay, so you're engaging the Protoss, right? Now let's look at something really fast. What does your queen and your main have? 42 energy? That is respectable. Not bad. How about the natural queen? 24? Very good. That's perfect. You're less than 25. And 34 queen energy at your third base. Again, very respectable. And you even have a queen at the fourth base. You have 42 energy. Very respectable. Right now, right after your initial max, you have super respectable mechanics on your injecting. Okay? That is very, very respectable. Now let's see your upgrades really fast. You have 1-0 upgrades. You have 2-1 on the way. That's good. You have Roach speed done. You have Hydra speed and range done. So far, things are looking all right for you, honestly. Now, I would say this, though. This is one thing I don't like that you did, though. So, look at your scouting on the map, right? You can see on your vision, you have no type of scout awareness of the top right of the map. Like, you do see here, though. Like, you saw this with something, so you did check it with maybe a ling right there that ran down or some shit like that from way earlier in the game. But right now, you haven't checked these bases in a long time. Same thing over here. You haven't checked this base, and you haven't also checked this base. This base is kind of being revealed by creep, so that's cool. But if your opponent was taking, like this will happen a lot more than you might realize. If your opponent was doing some weird shit to you, and you just attack their base with your army into where they're more defensible, that could potentially it could throw the game for you. So one way to fix that is if we go back for just a quick second, on your way to maxing out, when you're around like 100 and, honestly, like 150 supply realm of, like, right around 150-ish, 160-ish, you'll be maxing way quicker, like really soon now. You can see like you're at 8 minutes. You're going to max out in about 48 seconds from now, right? If you just take one roach and go like this, A move, A move, A move, A move. Your lings are here, so you could use the lings even. You could even use the lings. But I'm not telling you to build lings in the future for now. You eventually will use them in diamond, but but you have them, so let's think about how you could use them as well. So just because it's something that exists right now. You could go, hey, run up one of you run this way and check these bases, and one of you run this way and check these bases. Just confirm if Protoss has anything here, okay? And if the Protoss does not have anything there, then you're good to go and attack his third. But if he does have anything there, then you should definitely go attack that first instead. And this is the exact thing that has a problem for you, is because you let him take this base, and you could kill it, and you could start starving him out, but you skip this base and you hit here instead, which is already set up with batteries. Now, to be fair, it's not the most defensible position for Protoss of all, but it has more defense than you might realize. Like, it's already set up to a degree, and it's just gonna make the army harder for you to kill now. And then if you think about this too, like, remember what we talked about with 8 minutes about the minerals patches mining out? Look at his main base by 9 minutes. If you prevent him from taking more economy, he will slowly run out of money over time. And if you have the ability to remax, and every time you remax, you're smashing shit like this down. Meanwhile, you're spreading creep. You know, that's what you want to be doing as well. And what this should be doing as well at this phase of the game, honestly, I know a lot of people don't like this mindset when they're not comfortable with it yet because they're not fully confident in their macro. And they're like, well, I don't want to throw this army away. It seems pointless. The way you micro this, how you engage and disengage, I feel like that's less important right now than making sure you as well are maximizing your minerals and every base that you can and sending them to new bases. I'm not gonna lie, you're injecting and you're droning. This is still really good, by the way. I don't want to make you think that, oh my god, one drone is the big difference here, because it's red. You're doing a great job with your overall income and your overall injecting of your bases. That's great. And now right in the larva you have is 19 already ready to go with more injects on the way. That's good. The one thing I would say that's all, but keep doing that, right? Keep doing it, keep fixing it, keep on top of it. Do not stop doing that. Another thing that you should be doing right now is this is priority right now. Not this. This should be literally finding out where his expansions are, and then if you found this, you would want to go, okay, A move, shift A move, shift A move, shift A move. Fuck it. It's over. Because while you're doing that, you're spreading your creep. Spreading your creep, spreading your creep, spreading your creep, spreading your creep, spreading your creep. And what you do then is you indirectly, not only, because this is how the game goes. Not only do you kill expansions repeatedly and prevent him from being able to saturate properly, even if your army dies in the process, you just remax it. But at the same time, you start doing shit like this to the bases where, you just took a hatchery here, which is nice, but this was already covered in creep. This base is already covered in creep. This base is eventually going to be covered in creep. This base is going to be covered in creep soon. This base is going to get covered in creep. This base is going to be covered in creep. Like, you're going to literally cover the map in general in creep, and it makes it really easy for your army to always take good engagements because you have more move speed. You can reinforce faster, so your remax can attack him again faster because you can run across the map quicker to his base. And then you just literally, it increases the rate at which you can pile on the pressure on your opponent.
Yeah.
So now let's look at how you micro this army and see how long you spend trying to micro this fight. So you engage and then you back up because it's got, there's Colossus and there's sentries, and then you re-engage and you back up again. So you're playing this way too hard already for yourself on trying to like set something up. And then you kill some rocks, you back up, you're running around, kill more rocks. What's happening is, this is what's really happening. You again, remember this, okay? Remember this. You will go right back to this. This is something a lot of people don't think about. You maxed out at 848, right? You're maxed out. He's 64 supply below you right now. And I'm not telling you to attack right this second because you do. I mean, you do have these units that need to pop out right now, and they just started, so they're on their way. But they pop out right now at like 9 minutes and 8 seconds, and now you need to just go. Like now, ideally, you would. That's why I also told you to scout around the map around like maybe 150 supply. So you'd want to already know where you want to go, and you need to just go. And if you just go, the chances of you taking a fight where you trade and you whittle the Protoss down while you whittle yourself down is it's gonna happen, right? You're gonna lose your army, but you're also ideally gonna weaken the Protoss. But if you sit around and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait, because remember this, you have a 62 supply lead right now when you actually have your entire army active. You're no longer building units. They're all spawned already. 62 supply. We'll write that down so we don't somehow forget that number. 62 supply lead right now as you're maxed out for real and you're ready to attack him. Now you poke in. We'll go forward a little bit. You poke in. You back off. You poke in. You kill like 1 or 2 units. You back off. You start killing rocks. Now you engage again. Now this is your second engage, and you no longer have a 62 supply lead. You have a 46 supply lead. So you're already down in terms of the lead you had a bit more now, because this army maxes way faster than this. Colossus are way like yes, Colossus are really good. They're high tech, but they take a long time to make, and all you're doing is you're giving him time. So you just gave him almost a minute there to make a little bit more different. Like he didn't obviously make a ton either there though. But you did give him almost a minute there, like probably like 50 seconds of time to catch up to you, because you're paranoid. You're playing way too scared here, and then the fight happens. And does it actually happen? No, you disengage again, right? You're giving him more time again right now. So you disengage again. You're playing the game way too scared. Use your bank. Use your remax potential. Break his existing army down, because this army scales better than yours does. So if you give it time to continue to max out, you will honestly let him max out. Now, you just took some hits, and here's the problem you're having as well, is you're playing so scared that, and you're focusing so hard on the army, that every time you engage, you're getting hit by these Colossus, and you're like initiating the fight to the point to where you run at his army, and you take a bunch of hits because he's got superior range to you, so you have to be hit to set the fight up. Like, he'll shoot you before you engage, right? You're like it'd be like you're a hunter versus a fucking tiger in the wild or some shit, and it would be like a tiger runs all the way to the hunter right into his face, gets shot like 3 shots by a gun, and then runs away back into the fucking bushes, and then re-engages again. And you're like, you keep taking all these hits and you don't actually commit to the fight. So you're just peppering your army up with damage repeatedly by re-engaging and disengaging and re-engaging and disengaging. When if you just took a fight, you would kill units and lose units at the same time, but you would only increase your supply lead because you're maintaining a higher income than the Protoss does, especially when you make the fights happen at new bases. So if you disengage again here again right now, so you don't, now you're target firing Colossus, and that's another thing. All it shows me is that you're microing a ton here, right? But now this is where the remax goes away, because look what's happened in production this entire time you've been fighting. Okay, you've actually made 8 Hydras. I'm impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I did not expect that. But you're making something. But as your army micros, you disengage again, and then after you disengage, you do remax, which I'm proud of for that. But so there's a couple sides to this coin, right? Not only is it being able to just build units, and you again. Good job. I'm happy that you did that. That's making me happy for you. But let's look at your queens again really fast. Now this queen is over 2 injects missing. Now this queen's still respectable. It's still got 1 inject ready to go, but it's still respectable. As long as it's like if it's under 25, amazing. You're flawless. Good job. You're doing really great. If it's under 50, it's still very good and respectable. But if it's above 50, it's not so great. If it's above 75, it's getting pretty bad. If it's above 100, you need to definitely work on that a lot more. And if it's anything above 125, make that your priority. You need to fix that really badly. So this is still good. This is starting to get a little bit, because you can tell you're missing injects now. You've now missed 2 waves of inject, and that's just gonna it makes your remax harder to do. This queen over here is almost getting to the 50 range, so it's starting to get really close to not being so good anymore. This queen up here is above 50 again. So you can tell you're not injecting because you're microing a lot. Now let's see if you actually inject for a second here. I'm gonna watch your perspective when the fight's over, and let's see what you do. You inject, you inject, you inject. Fuck yeah, good job. I'm proud of you. That was great. So
I forget sometimes, like if I set up a fight, like
Sure.
to inject before I fight,
Yeah.
and then during the fight I ignore injecting because, like against Colossi I feel like I have to macro
Yeah.
and micro a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Otherwise I just lose the fight for free.
Well,
If I don't.
Your mechanics and your overall mechanics in general are actually relatively pretty good. Okay, I don't want you to think that this is one of those times where it's actually not as easy of an answer for you specifically to go, oh, make just macro better and you win. Even though it still would. I'm not even saying, oh, it's perfect. There's still fundamental things that could be better. It always can be better. But your biggest problem is honestly, your build just kind of doesn't make sense in the early game. It's so risky and scary, and you could die so many times because of that. And then secondly, you're so passive and conservative in the mid game when your army does not. It's not supposed to be that way. This army sucks ass the more supply he gets. And remember that 62 supply lead you had? Now it's a 38 supply lead. And it's only going more into Protoss' favor. Because you're not engaging. You keep disengaging. You're playing way too scared against Colossus. And now you get shot again, and you disengage. And you start pushing him right there. He backs up a little bit.
Yes, I didn't really want to take a fight against the shield batteries.
That's why, I mean, I'll say this. If you killed this base, yes, you should have killed this base first, but that would have required you to scout around the map, and you didn't scout around the map very much.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And then, secondly, if you do take a fight against this base, it's not that bad, actually. And the reason why is because if you think about it like this, a Colossus is a unit that can be built every almost minute, 54 seconds. And then how many gateways does he have? He's got 8 gateways, okay? So he's got 2 robos and 8 gateways. If you kill this and there's, that's part of the 8 gateways right there. If you kill any of this army, it takes him longer to replace this army than it does for you. Because you have just superior overall production to the Protoss right now. Because again, if your army instead was like you're going Broodlords, or you were going for like lots of lurkers or something, then yes, you're playing an army that is more expensive, and it is it's not as easy to replace because it's got, if you're going infestors with it, like that army is way more pricey, and it makes sense to be more conservative and micro it properly. But you're playing a style that will be like the equivalent of the Protoss making like 24 gateways instead of robos, just literally 24 gates, and making like zealots and stalkers. That's like what your army is essentially. It's literally just like mass low-tech units that are good at overwhelming your opponent as long as you have the ability to actually overwhelm them with supply. But as soon as they match your supply or get closer to it, it only makes your army weaker because you have no real power to your army. This is like all mobility. So it needs to take fights early. So the shield battery isn't your real concern. Because if he has less DPS, you'll overwhelm it, and that's good for you. What really is your concern is when he gets to a higher tech count with more power units like Immortals and Colossus and things like that. If you let him have time to do that, then yeah, that's a problem. And then you once again, you disengage again, right? And now the Protoss' supply will only continue to go up. Okay, so I like how fast you re-engage at least. But I think you're microing a little too I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I kind of want you to stop microing as much as you do, but because I don't want your mechanics to suffer. But you're actually macroing pretty decent as a result of this, anyways. So you can fucking control your army, okay? I give you the Vibu Gold Star to control your army. Just you need to understand the concept, okay? That is, you need to not let him build have a lot of time to keep pumping robo units. You need to definitely push faster.
Yeah.
And his supply just keeps going up because you're just giving him so much time. Because you haven't really taken a real fight up to this point. Like you keep taking poke battles and you back off, and now you maxed out almost like a little bit more than 3 minutes ago at this point. You maxed out like 3 minutes and 20 seconds ago, or 3 minutes and 10 seconds ago, and you still haven't really taken a fight yet. It's just poking. That was another you took all those hits to engage against to kill one Colossus, and you threw away like 15 units to kill a Colossus right there.
Yeah, like it felt like if I get the Colossus without losing too much army, I will win the game. like I will get control over the game, but I was like, if he would go for a push on me, it felt like, yeah, I will lose.
Well, you gotta think about it like this though. It's not about you're focusing so much on killing what exists. You're like, what if I kill a Colossus, right? Then I weaken the Colossus count. But what if it takes you a minute to kill a Colossus because you keep engaging and backing off, engage and back off, engage and back off, and he's got 2 Robos that can build 2 Colossus within a minute. So you kill one and you disengage and re-engage and disengage and re-engage, and then he just builds 2 more. And now he's already replaced that Colossus that died, and he's got another one again, right? And now he's got 2 more in production again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that the only reason why your army's starting to scale like crap is because, again, you're playing a player who's like got equal supply to you now, and your army, you had a 62 supply lead, and now you're tied. So now, yes, your army's gonna start fighting poorly. And imagine if like your creep was like up to right here, and imagine if this base was killed, and this, because again, this is all economy right now. This is just extra economy that Protoss has that he shouldn't have right now. And if he didn't have it, that would be a lot more pressure on him. And if your creep was already like right there, and let's say your creep teamers were on their way to blocking this base, so now Protoss is going to send a probe over here at some point and be like, oh my god, there's creep in the way. I got to try and kill creep. And then it just wastes more time for him to try to even expand from there. And then also, here's the thing too. What if the Protoss... let's just say, what if the Protoss runs over here to try and kill your creep, because your creep is all over the place, and you can see him doing that because you can see your creep, and then you have the option now to either kill a base when he's out of position, or kill a base when he's out of position, or engage his army when it's in the middle of nowhere on creep. It gives you way more options as Zerg. And I'm not gonna lie, you're missing so much damage as well in a lot of these fights when you try to focus fire. Because what you're doing is you're taking your whole blob of units and you're just ramming it into his face, trying to like target fire a Colossus. And some of your units in the back are probably not even shooting. And some of your units, like a lot of units in the front will shoot, but some of your units in the back won't shoot. But you're also move committing your army into him. And you're taking like free volleys of like 1 to 2 full volleys of his army before you actually move into him to then target fire Colossus, which is in the back of his army. And then this style also would be countered by the fact that if the Protoss just like he just caught the pattern of what you were doing, where he just sees that you keep target firing his Colossus, and all he does is he moves his entire army at you, and then he just double clicks his Colossus, and he just kites only his Colossus back. Where he's like, oh, you want to target fire my Colossus all day? I'll just select my Colossus only, and then just go attack back up, attack back up, attack back up, and then suddenly you chase him for so long now because he just backs up, and all these units pound your front line as you try to run by it. So it's really just... The Colossus aren't the problem, it's the blob that's the problem, and the Colossus are contributing to the power of the blob, but his blob is getting too big because you're not doing enough damage overall, and capitalizing on the time to do it. Because, I mean, like, right there, even though you target fired the Colossus, and he didn't micro it, and then some of your units killed some of his units, he actually dropped a bit in supply, so did you. But now it's really about, can you remax and get on top of him again, and instead of going backwards where it's like, I have 60, now I have 40, now I have 20, now we're tied. You want it to be like, okay, let's say that fight just happened and you go, okay, we're tied. Now I have a 20 supply lead. Now I have a 40, now I have a 60, now I have an 80. And this is all different fights where your armies die. But the reason why you should be able to do this is because you're maximizing your income, like your macro is not bad, dude. Like for real. I'm impressed by that a lot. Especially for playing this game for 3 months. Yeah, you're definitely a fast learner. So you're doing a great job overall with your macro, but really just keep capitalizing on pushing advantages rather than giving them away. So be less paranoid about making this army, because you're so focused on making the one fight work really well, when this army is supposed to die, and it's supposed to just be rebuilt and rebuilt and rebuilt and rebuilt, and then you slowly overwhelm them over time. Like these units are disposable, essentially. They're very expendable units. Only really worry about microing your army a lot once you start using more power armies, which is, and obviously you can micro more as well if, you know. Again, I keep saying that, but I want you to know that I actually approve of you microing a little bit because you can actually handle macro. You are actually able to do that. So your macro is already diamond level. It is. But your game choices are not. Your understanding of the game is not there.
Yeah, that's where I lack. Like I feel like here I thought like yeah, if I had a Viper early game and killed this Colossi early game, I would have just run over the Protoss.
I just
Like that was my thought.
you could
But
eventually
I
use
didn't
Viper.
make.
All right.
Yeah, but I never think about that in the middle of the.
Yeah, like I'm not, but I'm not even telling you that your problem in this game. I do not want you to walk away from this coaching lesson thinking that you should have made Viper, because
Yeah.
that's not really what your problem is. Your problem is understanding how to use an army fundamentally, and your army is high mobility, very easily replaceable, not power. And you're playing conservative versus a guy who's playing a power army, and all that means is you're giving him more time to create more power, and power scales slower than mobility does. Like power means. So this is the difference. Probably the best way I can explain this. Just because a unit says it's worth 2 supply doesn't mean it's actually worth 2 supply. And the best way to describe that is he's making units that have more cost per supply than what you do. So if you make 10 supply, it costs you 500 resources. And if he makes 10 supply, it costs him 800 resources. Because he's making units that are more tech value and power that take longer to build because it takes more money to make the army. So when you both max out, your army, again, just throwing a hypothetical number out there, when you max out, your army is worth 5,000 resources. And when he maxes out, his army is worth 8,000 resources, which means he has more power invested into his into his overall build here. So if you give him time to invest that, you fall behind and you're like, well, fuck, this army's hard to kill, right? So then you need to either fight power with power by you also make an army that's more expensive yourself, which could be things like Lurker, Viper, whatever. That's harder to use, though. That means you have to micro that more meticulously. But it doesn't match up, though, if you're making Roaches and Hydras. Because if you're going to make Roaches and Hydras and play conservative like you had a power army, it's just the concept doesn't match up right there. It's the only thing I really want you to make sure you understand. So if you're playing a mobility army that is cheaper than his army and has equal supply but it's cheaper, it means you can make it faster, which gives you the overwhelm mechanic on your side. So you want to abuse that at all costs, and you want to you want to be like going back to the jungle analogy. You want to be the tiger that not only gets shot by a fucking gun 3 times while you're running at somebody, but you pounce them and you just do as much damage to them as you can. And then even if that, like let's say you lose that one battle, you win the war because another tiger is coming right after that, and it's going to do it again, and it's going to keep happening. And then they don't have enough staying power to like stay in it. So, is it going to work every time? Not necessarily, but I'm not telling you, if you just attack constantly, you're always going to win. Because obviously that micro could be a factor there, things like that. But if you're playing to your advantages of your style, you need to be aggressive as much as possible with your timings, and don't give him time. You want to take as much time away from him as you can if you're playing a mobility style. And you're just not doing that at all this game. You're playing so conservative. And and I totally. Now he does a zealot counterattack on your base, and it buys more time for him because it turns you all the way back around the map to go kill that, which was like 5 zealots or something. And now he has more time again to make more power. And now once again he's got currently 5 immortals, 2 colossus, which is about to become 4 colossus, and he's about to max out again before the fight really starts. So you're engaging again, and now. Yeah, right? Here comes... He's actually got 3 Colossus now, because another one somehow is fucking over here. I don't even know where... Oh, it's got 3 Robos. I see that. So he's actually got 3 Robo-swimming units. So he's going ultra power. Yeah. So slow to remax for him, but good God, if he does max, it's going to be really scary, right? And then, now it's just an army that it definitely scales better than yours does. But look, you're doing damage to him, though. But you're running away again. Like, you keep trying to save these armies.
Yeah, I saw the Colossus and I'm like, fucking bullshit game. That was my fault.
Yeah, and then, look, your macro is on point, man. Like, before he's even to your creep, you're maxed again, essentially. Like, you just lose a couple units there, but now you are maxed again. Your macro is 100% diamond level, 100% diamond level macro here. But you just need to push this shit though. And a good way to, if your opponent, here's a cool tip, okay? If your opponent pushes you like this, 2 things you got to do, and that will help you have an advantage, okay? Number 1, group your units up first of all. Don't have them engage where it's like 6 units engaged, then 6 units are coming, then like another 5 are coming, then like 5 are coming, and then more are coming over here. more coming over here, more coming over here. Great macro, bad engagement if you have them all like periodically go in there and you stagger your army out like crazy, because again your army is mobility and it's not power. And how do you win? Overwhelming your opponent, and this is completely defeating the purpose of that. So definitely group your army up. And then secondly, if you see him pushing your creep like this and he's just walking to your base, the easiest way you can have a great fight here, once you group up, grab your whole army and move your whole army like maybe to the right or to the left, and then green box half of it and go the other direction. So you could be like, select the army, go there, grab half of it, go this way right here. And now suddenly you can sandwich him and flank him, and that gives you such a better engagement. And that's, again, I don't want you to play conservative there and engage and like pull back and engage and pull back. You just fucking sandwich and slam his ass to the ground. Because the idea is you, yes, you might lose your army, but you're taking as many of his fucking units with you as you can. Because you have the ability to remax way faster than he can, so you can do it again, and you can do it again, and you can do it again. And that's where, like we said before, you will create supply leads in your favor rather than lose them back to where you guys are equaling supply because you had it and you're losing supply lead. So you literally just hit him over the head with a hammer repeatedly. Like, you need to be on top of your attacks all the time. So like, you're killing Colossus, and like if you disengage again right now, you're not. Okay, so the only problem you really had that fight was you engaged really spread out, and your units were staggered like crazy. But I'm glad that you actually just took the fight. That makes me so much happier, because look at the supply. Like, I mean, the only real problem is that you've lost so much resources up to this point, so you kind of blew your banks like crazy. Even though your macro's been good, and also this run by is kind of fucking, you know. But up to this point, your macro's been wonderful. It's other than your creep spread, your macro's been great. Definitely, I would say this. Okay, let me give you a final grade on your skill level here. It was what I would tell you what you're at. Diamond level macro in terms of your injects and your money management of like how you set up your bases. Probably like, honestly, I would say plat to like lower plat creep spread. Definitely not like gold creep spread. Your creep spread's not like bad by any means. So I'm not gonna like say it's lower than what your skill level is. But the only problem for you is you just ignore it once you start actually doing things, which is definitely like I would say a plat tendency. When general plat tendencies are, you need to fix your mechanics a bit more. Like your mechanics are not strong enough to like progress. So definitely make sure you stay on top of your creep as much as possible, because creep is so controlling for the game for Zerg. But yeah, I'm really glad you took this fight. Conceptually, that was a correct fight. It's just too bad that this was like the 6th fight and finally you committed to it, and then fucking the game's over now because you have no bank. Yeah, and then you kind of did the same thing again there. But I get it. Now it's kind of scary because you're like, oh, fuck, he's in my mineral line, though. And if I let my base die, I'm going to die. Or if I engage my unit staggered like this again, I'm going to die. So now this is a really hard position. The best thing you could do for yourself, though, in this position, honestly, would be something like this. Rally all your hatcheries right here. Click this hatchery specifically and this hatchery and rally it right there. And stop telling your units to attack him for a moment. And then run your drones away. And try to run your drones, for instance, like to a new base like down here if this, for instance, zealots weren't currently killing you. That would probably be the best thing you could do, because then you could actually group up a little bit of units and then engage rather than having them stagger like crazy. But this wouldn't have got to this point. You got to realize that it would not have got to this point at all if you did the things we talked about, like you never let him have this base and you starved him out. Because look at that, he'd be out of money there. Look at the natural, it's looking terrible. Look at his 3rd base, it's starting to mine out as well. If you just keep denying future expansions and you crush him over and over and over, like you don't disengage, you just commit. You're taking a situation where the Protoss is on 3 base, he's on 3 base, he's on 3 base, he's on 3 base, versus you who's on 4 base. Now you're on 5 base, now you're on 6 base, now you're on 7 base, and that's why you can keep remaxing and he can't. So that's how mobility should play. You overexpand against them, and you literally you prevent them from expanding. And he's playing a power style, which is a bit more turtly. So it would just come down to like how well does the micro happen there, which is whatever. But realistically though, this guy didn't micro at all. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he fucking stood there every time you fought him and just let you focus fire his units. So if you just committed to engagements, you would have won this game. And if you just prevented from expanding, again, that's the biggest one of all.
Yeah.
All right, so I was gonna give you a macro test, honestly, with the notepad trick, but that's assuming that your mechanics are bad. I'm honestly just gonna say screw it's not a big deal. I can still give you I can still give you a a build if you want. Like I'm literally just gonna do what I do in Beta GM series. But the only reason why I think I'm not telling you to do that because I'm saying your macro is bad. That's not why I would tell you that specifically. I would tell you to, if you're gonna go Roach Hydra style, do the Beta GM Roach Hydra style only because it would make you safer to not dying to all these kinds of things that your opponents can do to you. Like I'm watching how you open and I'm thinking to myself, dude, you would literally die to everything early game. Like anything that attacks you early, you would fucking die.
Yeah, I played a game earlier today where 6 aliens killed my third base completely. Like,
yeah,
and all the work.
I don't doubt it. 100%. I totally can see that happening because you have no. Again, if you can't go Speedling style, if you don't play Speedling style, like if you open speed and you just don't use it, it defeats the purpose. And the way you use Speedling style, again, is you have to know without a doubt, should I be making units right now or should I be making drones right now? And the way you figure that out is you're always running lings around, checking his door, like literally doing laps and being like every 20 seconds or every 30 seconds going, what do you have back here? Like, what do I need to wear? How do I decipher what this means and do I need to worry about that? And if you do, obviously you make more units. And if you don't, it's scouting. It's like, it's very definitive scouting. So Speedling style is definitely a style. It's something where I would say, if you already have a problem keeping up with creep spread, in the mid game, you're gonna have an even harder time keeping up with Ling scouting as well, because that's how that style performs well.
Yeah, like I play sometimes, like I play more Ling Bane playstyle, but then Battle Cruiser shows up and I don't take up for some reason, and I lose the game. Like if it's against Terran, or a bunch of Banshees come and
sure, it just
so
requires.
Like I mix quite a lot of like what units, but I don't have a plan when I start the game. Like I just build something.
Yeah, no, I mean you're only playing the game for 3 months, and your macro, like I will say this, the order of what you've learned is definitely correct. Like you learned how to macro like a champ for 3 months in this game, so your macro is very impressive for someone who's barely been playing, and keep doing that. Like don't stop doing that. Make sure your like it never ends. By the way, your macro, it's not like you get to a point where you can just go, oh well, I don't need to improve my macro anymore. It's going to feel hard to continuously always improve your macro because you have to add more shit. Like, for instance, I want you to add on creep spread first and still maintain your macro. And then you can add on speedling styles and maintain your macro. And then you can add on more, like, spellcasters and all this other shit and still maintain your macro. So learning how to macro, first of all, is the hard part for people to, like, learn how to play the game. But I feel like you've already kind of done that. Now it's learning how to maintain it while you can also add more shit to it, and that's where you're at now, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty bad at like you said that I mix 2 builds early game. So like if something happens early game, it slowly but surely I have no idea what to do. I build drones and then he attack me again. I build army, but then I don't have money left.
So
and then
I'll give you this. I'll give you a disclaimer. So I wrote down all your timers, and you maxed out. The big one you want to understand is you have ideal drone count at around, which is around 84, 85 workers, which is great. I love it. And you maxed out just before 9 minutes, around like in the 840s, 848 specifically. If you do the Beta GM build, where you go for like a 16 hatch, 18 pool, 20 gas, and then you do that build order that way, you will have the exact same max out that you already have. It will not slow you down. It will not speed you up. Like you will max out around 840. And because again, I believe your macro is. I'm confident your macro is good enough to do that. But you will have so much more protection in your build to not die to all these kinds of timing. So what I would tell you to do now, I would highly recommend that you spend a little bit of time going back and watching some Zerg Protoss Beta GM, just for the build only. Again, it's not about making your macro better. It's about actually learning the build order to know when you're supposed to make safety units, and so you're not going to fuck your gas timings up and things like that. So it's about making sure you can still maintain what you're already doing, because again, you're like your macro cycle stuff, your checking of it is good, but your build order understanding is a little bit like rigid. So making sure you just don't fuck that up by. And then I would say this: as long as you're like, if you don't max out around 840, like look at when I max out in one of those like platinum games in Beta GM style, and you'll see it. You'll be like, oh, he maxes out at like 845, maybe like 839, 847, whatever. I'll be maxing it all. Sometimes I even max out like 820. But if you see that, look at that, and then you can go, okay, I need to make sure I can do what he does here, and pay attention. Again, I am very thorough about how I run over the build. I'm not like attacking the whole time. I'm literally just macroing the whole time. So it's very clear and understanding to see how the build goes. So really get that down. And if you're going to keep doing this style, which is totally fine, and then you'll have way more cover for early game, so you'll stop dying to stupid cheesy shit in the early game. It's way more like high chance of you not dying if you do that way. And then in the late game, again, just like we talked about before, really keep on top of trying to make your creep spread better, and really be on top of trying to make sure you can maintain the concept of mobility and overwhelm your opponent, because you're all about surrounding and killing him rather than conservatively fighting him. So, all makes sense. You have any questions about anything?
Yeah, not really. Like, I mean, it's the fact that I my early game is not well greedy, like you said, but like when I see the like a Sarah or anyone like or any sort of pro player, they always take a third base around 30.
It's because they're doing speedling styles.
So they always go speedling.
Yeah. And it's really good.
Go for a
speedling is really good. It's like you can do gasless third bases as well. But let me tell you the reason why I don't want you to go for third bases like this really fast. If you go for a third base that's really exposed, you actually are like, it would be like this. Let me give you another analogy that is very real, and it'll make sense to you, okay? But this is what it's like. Think about like boxing, okay? And think about like if you're in your boxing and someone tells you they're gonna punch you in the face, and you put your hands up in front of your face to like block the punch. That's like doing a two-base build where it's actually really easy to defend yourself, and it's still good in the way that, because again, like I said before, it still maxes out at the exact same time you maxed out in this game. So you're not getting a benefit by playing greedy like this, because you could have maxed out faster if you would have macroed like a fucking god, like a Cyril or something like that. Like you could have probably maxed out like at 8 minutes flat or like 750. But you're not. And again, that's fine. And it's because you're still making the roaches. That's why you're not maxing out like that. Like you're still making roaches early on in the game at some point. You're just doing them at a very awkward time because you're like fully saturating 3 bases and then making new roaches. Which is, it's awkward for defense, and you're also investing in the speed and not using it. But now, if you do a build that's like a 3-base build, like a fully exposed 3-base build, and you have just the 4 lings, and then you need to have full awareness of the game to not die. Going back to the boxing analogy, what that is it's like, now think about boxing, where instead of putting your hands in front of your face, you put your arms straight out, left and right, and you like do the full spread, and then someone tries to punch you in the face, and you're 100% confident you're going to move your head to the side to dodge their punch. And you're like, I know what you're doing before you do it, and I'm so confident that you can't hit me. That's what it's like, and obviously it's way harder. If you have someone who's never boxed before, and you tell them to do that, the guy's going to punch him in the face, and he's going to fall over. He's going to be like, fuck, that hurts. What if you got a guy who's been boxing for 10 years or something like that? He'll watch the way the guy's body language is motioning towards him, and he'll dodge the punches and shit. And he's like, suddenly, it's so much more technique there than you might not realize exists. Just like a speedling style is so much technique into it, because you have to be able to do something like going back here really fast. You have to look at a Protoss's base like this and go, okay, going back into the game, you have to look at this and go, right there, I know what he's doing. Do you know what this means? Like, do you understand what this means right here in this guy's base? And if you don't, that is something you need to learn before you really get confident doing speedling styles. And here's a for instance, okay? This is a for instance. You could say something like this. All right, so we'll go right back to it. No, this is, instead of seeing this and going, okay, well, we'll go right back to New Overlord arrived. And you're like, all right, I get to his base, and what does he got? He's got a gateway, a pylon, a nexus, a second gateway, and a core. Cool. And then you put your Overlord over the high ground, and then he starts making, you can tell he starts making a unit, because if you look at the gateway, look at the crystal on the gateway, it does nothing. And now look at the crystal on the gateway right about now. And there you go. And now it starts going, like, you can, if you know what that looks like, you can tell he's making a unit. And if he's making a unit before the core is done, because you can see the core right there, you already know it's a zealot 100%, because you can only make zealots before the core is done. And then you know that this guy is playing a super safe style of, he doesn't really need that zealot because you did not 12 pull him. So he's just slowing himself down by making a zealot. And now you can tell he's not making any units anymore out of his gateways, and he's making something out of the core, and he's also not making a probe yet out of the Nexus, even though the Nexus is done, because if you can tell what it looks like when something is building or not building, that's a huge thing. But you can tell there is something building out of the core, because you can tell what the graphic looks like of a core when it's building versus when it's not. And the way you can tell that is the top of the core spins really fast when it's being built, and it doesn't spin very fast at all when it's not being upgraded. Like, you might see it very subtly here for just a quick second when it's finished. I'll slow the game down a little bit. Now watch the core, watch the very top of the core with the disc. It'll spin really fast when he starts an upgrade. So if we look at the core, right now it's done, and the core is spinning a little bit, but watch how it speeds up really quickly when he starts an upgrade. So it's kind of doing a little thing. And okay, well, you saw like the jagged, like, and then it starts spinning a lot more. I guess the easiest way we can tell, because it's kind of hard to see that because it's so fucking early. But let's go to the point when the core is actually done upgrading, and then you can see how it kind of stops and it goes back to what it looks like when it's not spinning. So it's about to finish right now, and it's seconds from finishing. It's still spinning fast, and it's done right now. And it slows down, right? And now it's just chilling, and it's like, all right, cool.
Okay.
So it's way less active when it's not upgrading anything. And the building is now just, these things just kind of turn every once in a while, and that's it, right? But if you can tell what he's doing, like, if you're someone who doesn't know how to scout properly, and you don't really fully understand what things like this mean, you're like, okay, well, I don't fucking, he's got gateways and a pylon and a nexus and a core, fuck yeah, right? like you just don't, like, you say, it's like, it'd be like saying someone holds up the number 4 in front of my face, and I go, that's a 4. And then someone who really understands what the number 4 means, you're like, that could be 2 times 2, that could be 2 plus 2, that could be 4 plus 0. Like, there's so many ways you can read this if you really know your shit. So, again, if we look at this, we can go, he's making a zealot before the core is done. That's a defensive measure, but it also doesn't cost gas to do that. And now look at this, right? Look at the gateways. He's getting a core upgrade, which means obviously he wants to get warp gate, but he's building no units out of these gateways. So what does that tell us? We can already assume he's making tech in his main base, because if he doesn't do that, he has a bunch of money that he's not using. So let's see what he's doing in his main base. He's got a bunch of money that he's not using. So this is where Platinum Games is why this is Platinum, because this is now just inefficient. Obviously, he should be making units out of the gateway. So the only reason why he's not making tech and he's not making units is because he's obviously just not macroing. He's like thinking about some shit probably. He's probably thinking about the last fucking game he got Baneling busted, and he's like, that's not happening to me again. I got a zealot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There you go. Finally, he makes his tech, but it's so fucking late, right? That's a Platinum tendency. But you get the point. It's still what we just said logically makes sense, because if he doesn't make units, he's going for tech first, and these are things you need to be able to read out of your opponent if you have advanced level scouting. And advanced level scouting is a playstyle that where it pairs well with Zergling styles.
I usually just assume that a Protoss is gonna go Void Race.
It's common, so that's not a bad assumption, but yeah.
Like 9 out of 10 times it's gonna be a Void Ray that shows up.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, then it's some type of ground army that's gonna attack me.
Sure, but I mean, yeah, that's a very generalization big there, or a big generalization. Jesus, I can't speak anymore. That is a big generalization there as well, though, because just saying he's gonna attack me with a ground army could be like he's gonna charge all on you, he's gonna blink stalker all on you, he's gonna do an adept glaive all in against you, he's gonna do fast CTs against you, he's gonna do an immortal timing against you with sentries. He's gonna do charge a lot of mortal against you. Like, he's gonna go defensive colossus against you. He's gonna go disruptor style against you. Like, he's gonna go charge arcane immortal against you. There's so many styles Protoss can do that obviously you have to read more into it than just saying it's gonna be ground, right? And this is stuff that is advanced in StarCraft for sure. So I definitely don't think you need to know it already, but I think you're I do think you're ready for the step to start going down that road here pretty soon. I just think if you're going to, I do 100% approve of you committing to go with Beta GM because you're in Plat 2, and I 100% think Beta GM style, if you get really good at it, can take you into Diamond 3. And then once you're in Diamond 3, then I would think you should start delving more into the scouting realm of things and like the speedling style of things. That's totally fine. But for now, I think if you just understand your style and understand how to continue all of your mechanics of Zerg with it at a high level, as efficient as you can possibly be with it, and always try to keep improving that, you'll get better at the game. You'll still that's probably the best way you can grow from where you're at right now.
Because like sometimes I feel like going for ultras or brood lords, and I just go for it when I
Yeah.
play.
I mean, again, it's a video game, right? I'm totally down for that. Have fun with it. Do things that are different.
And
Oh, go ahead.
sometimes it's just it works, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Like I go mass banglings, and then I go some ultralisk, and I just destroy the opponent.
It will work right now, for sure, especially since you're in platinum still. If you just throw units like that in there, sometimes here and there it can work. But when you get higher level, your build needs to have synergy to work. So, for instance, if you're going Roach Hydra and then you just make a tech switch with 0 melee upgraded Ultra Ling Bane, and your opponent's already on like 2-2 going on 3-3, it won't work anymore, really. Like, you're going to feel like, you're like, okay, well, I guess this build just doesn't make sense. It's very rarely ever going to work in times like that. Like, because you're like digging a hole for yourself to try to begin to come out of. So builds need synergy the higher level you go. And then that's why builds are builds, right? It's not just random chaos. It's actually something that goes down a path. But again, that's something that's not going to apply to you until at least you're in Diamond League, honestly. Like, you don't need to, you do not need to worry about, you know, the super specifics that way. The only thing you really need to worry about for you, I would say, is just make sure you're not messing up Beta GM while actually doing Beta GM for what it is, because this is definitely not Beta GM. This is greedy, crossing my fingers that I don't die.
Yeah, like yeah, but this is like how I saw it. Like I saw some guide how to play Zerg.
It's a speedling
The
style,
first
though.
one?
It definitely it is how you can play a speedling style, but what you're doing is like you're taking the guide of how to play Zerg and you're only doing the first like 3 minutes of it, and then you're going into Beta GM right after. So you're like you're making like an abomination guide of yourself of taking a little bit from someone and a little bit from someone else and just putting them together and being like, yeah, it fucking works.
I mean, it was actually working up
Well,
to, like,
I 100% think it works. You know what? Want to know why? Your macro
Why?
is above platinum. That's why. You're literally being carried by your macro right now. Your macro
Because,
is good.
like I was like up all the way up to like gold 1 flat 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I started to struggle with games. Like until then, like I would lose to some random all-ins I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Like Dark Templars, like I had no idea what the fuck that was. Like some invisible guy coming and killing my entire base, and I didn't know how to create the
Detection.
how to see invisible. Yeah, detection. I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
Yeah, right. Well, that's just you'll learn over time for sure. But yeah, no, dude, do the Beta GM style, because that in itself is a guide that takes you all the way through, anyways. And I'm not even trying to tell you like only do my guides. Like, there's obviously other people out there that have their opinions, and there's many ways you can play StarCraft. It's all, if you want to listen to someone else do, by all means, that's totally fine. I would never say don't do that, but I would just say definitely make sure you don't mix like cross match builds together, because that will only hurt you. Like that will you can't do a speedling style and then suddenly every game open speedling and then just go roaches and hydras. And now I'm not saying you can't open speedlings and go roaches and hydras. That's not necessarily what I mean. This is where it gets confusing. It's just the concept of Beta GM does not synergize with the concept of a speedling build, even though you could do a speedling build that transitions into roach hydra. The difference there is Beta GM is very lax on scouting in Prawns to Plat. It's super, super lax on scouting because we're going roaches, and roaches are very, very strong defensively, but we have them early. But if you're opening speedlings, that is no longer lax. You need to be very active with scouting, because if you don't, you need to know you're going to get attacked before it happens, so you can actually have things ready to go before you get attacked. Because speedlings are units that are melee, and they once again fit the role of what your so think about, like, this is the last thing I'll say, then I think this will probably explain it, hopefully, and then we'll probably wrap it up after that. But here, listen to this for a second, okay? Beta GM is so strong early game because roaches are a unit that you can use to minimize being overwhelmed if you're getting all in. And you can do it in multiple ways, like, for instance, you can wall off your base. You can run roaches back to a choke point, which are ranged units. And if you run back to a choke point, that is like, let's say you're getting all in by a bunch of speedlings or a bunch of zealots or something, like a bunch of Hellions or whatever. Hellions are an exception to this because they're ranged, but you get the point. The point I'm trying to make here is, let's say it's Hellbats, okay? The point is if your opponent's going to do some crazy all into you early, roaches have the ability to shoot over defensive structures or defensive choke points, and you can use minimal surrounding potential, like minimal. It's almost like your army is power at that point, is what I'm trying to say, because you have the ability to use the terrain to your advantage, and you can minimize the amount of overwhelming that you take. Like, he can't overwhelm you as much if you have a wall or whatever. So that's why this build is so defensive. But if you have speedlings, that no longer is a factor, and the only way speedling style works, if you're actually getting all in, is if you made enough of them for long enough to overwhelm your opponent again, so it goes right back into the same concept that we were talking about when you were fighting the Protoss, where you can't have 12 Zerglings versus a big army out of your opponent because he's all inning you and you just made a bunch of drones, and then he shows up and you're like, oh, I only got like, you have like 12 Zealots and you're warping in 8 at a time, and I have 12 Zerglings. You're gonna die already because you can't overwhelm him, and you're just gonna die, and he's gonna overwhelm you instead. And if you played speedling style right, and you were like, oh, I have mass speedlings, and he's got 12 Zealots in my base, I have 40 lings already, and I'm making more as we go. Like, you're actually able to overwhelm. That's how speedling styles need to be played in theory. Like, you need to be able to overwhelm if you get attacked early, but you need to also, without a doubt, know they're doing that because your scouting is baller. Like, you just know what shit means, and you're always giving yourself vision to know what shit means because you're there. Like, you're always actively scouting constantly. So it's just a different play style. Or go ahead, sorry.
Like when I play against, for example, Terran.
Yeah.
It feels good to have speedlings because they can actually like deal with the drops so much better than roaches, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they get there so much faster. Like, I see it on the minimap and takes a few seconds, feels like, and the Zerglings are already there.
I'm not trying, but you gotta just keep in mind, I am not trying to tell you that speedlings are bad at all. They're amazing units. They're like one of my favorite units that Zerg has. The only problem with it though is I think if you go down the road of speedlings right now, I think it's going to only make it harder for you. Like, it's not going to hurt you. It's just going to take you longer to improve at the game, I think. And the reason why is because speedlings is already going to be another addition to you having to multitask more shit. And I feel like you're already having a problem with creep as it is and understanding the concept. And I think if you just first work on understanding concept and then work on adding mechanics to it and then work on adding scouting and micro to it, like speedlings, I think you'll only get to that stage that you want to get to inevitably faster. So instead of taking maybe like 2 months to get there, maybe you'll take 5 months to get there if you do it out of order, right? And you'll still get there eventually if you put in the effort to do it, but it'll just be, you'll be like struggling for longer essentially because you're doing shit in a way where you're learning at a slower pace because you're overwhelming yourself. Like if we make another analogy here, it'd be like a guy, think about like lifting weights, right? If you like progressively move yourself up, you improve quickly. But if you're a guy who, let's say you're like a guy who is like out of training for a long time and you just try to do a fucking previous max that you used to do 3 years ago or some shit like that, or like, so you saw some other guy lift that, so you think you can do it too, and you can't even do it, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to keep trying to do that, and you just fucking injure yourself, and you're like, okay, well, that didn't go very well. Like, yeah, you might still eventually get there at some point, but it's not actually like efficient for your time. You're just doing shit in a very inefficient way essentially at that point. So progression, right? Just gradual progression is, I feel like, where how you want to go about it. And speedlings are wonderful. They're amazing units. It's just I think it's maybe still slightly too early for you to do it. I think if you just get confident to really understand why you win the game with Roach Hydra, as we talked about throughout this lesson, then I feel like you can start understanding link styles a bit better. And stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, lings are great though. I love that unit. They're super good. You will eventually use it.
They are fun to play with because they're so fast.
You have
failings.
For sure. Eventually, you'll use them almost every game. It'll happen a lot. It's just not something that I feel like you're ready for yet because I feel like you have. I feel like you're. If you had like a stat card on like how good you are, it's like all macro and everything else is like kind of a bit lower at the moment for you, but again, you're brand new to the game and you can build those up as well. And if you build up all those things getting closer to what your macros is like now, you're going to be able to actually handle speedling styles so much stronger.
But are roaches good against the Terran push, like
100%. Yep, they are.
Because that's something I like, a Terran push, like, well, that's probably because I do a weird opener.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, roaches can be more larva efficient than lings are versus a push of Terran. You can make half the amount of larva in roaches as you do in lings and stop the push. Like, for instance, if you had like 12 or 15 roaches, I'm 100% confident that if you had like let's just say 12 roaches backed up by like maybe a queen or two queens that are in the area, you would be able to stop a 2-on-1 attacking you, as opposed to if you only had 12 larvae in lings. That is questionable, because if he stim packs 16 marines and you only have 24 lings engage that, and he just stands against the wall, he can totally kill 24 lings with 16 marines with stim and medevacs. So now it's no longer an equal larva investment. Now you would have to invest only like maybe 12 larvae on roaches, but now maybe you'd have to invest like 18 larvae or like 20 larvae on lings, and now you can actually feel confident that you're going to stop a 2-on-1 push as it initially hits your base. But that's a lot more larva again, so that's going to be less drones for you early and stuff like that. And but again, that's where it comes down. And if you have enough lings properly, that's where it comes down to knowing how to play a speedling style to go, not only do I know what you're doing, I also know how many units I need to make. So I don't overmake and I don't undermake. Because if you undermake, you die. If you overmake, you're behind.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So any final questions about anything?
And what does like what is standard timing like for LR?
So if
Like
you do
hear about a lot of just take Evo Chamber at standard timing.
okay, so
Like, I don't know what that
I
is.
would say do not listen to anybody who tells you do a thing at a certain time and they just generalize that person doesn't really fully. They're talking about their experience. I mean, there's lots of builds that make sense. So I would take that like with a grain of salt. Don't actually just believe that. And it depends on your build, okay? And I'll explain the two builds that are relevant to you. One's going to be in your future. One is going to be for now. So the one for now for you is the Roach Bronze Jam style. You should be taking a layer the second your queen is done. So, because again, the build is 16 hatch, 18 pool, 20 gas. And the reason why that build makes sense is because if you start a queen right when your pool's done, the queen will finish right when you have 100 gas, and you can make a layer right away. And that's Speed to Jam style for layer. For a Speedling style, what you want to do then is you want to get speed on your like it'll be like a 17 hatch or a 16 hatch with like an 18 gas, 17 pool, something like that. And then you go into a speed for Zerglings, move speed for Zerglings, and then from there you'd want to decide what your build's going to be. Is it going to be defensively passive? Is it going to be aggressive? Is it going to be like a Baneling bust or a Roach bust with your Lings? Like, this is why these numbers, you need to understand what your build is, but we'll say your build is going to be defensive, okay? Just say it's going to be defensive macro and you want a relatively good paced layer because you're playing defensive. You have no intentions of attacking your opponent and like pouncing on a third base, or your answer to them, whatever they're doing, is either reacting defensively with units or reacting defensively with greed. So if they expand, you expand. If they attack you, you react defensively with units. Okay, let's say that's what your plan is. If that's your plan, what you're gonna do is you would take 100 gas for speed, take 2 drones off just like you did this game, and then you would. What's gonna happen is that one drone is gonna mine just under 100 gas if you do it properly. And then what's gonna happen is as you get to about like 90 gas or so, you'll have made enough drones to saturate your natural fully, and when your natural is fully saturated, you then put 2 drones back on the gas to go 3 out of 3, and as you initiate going back to 3 out of 3 because your natural is fully saturated, which is going to mean you have enough economy to afford going to the next step of your economy of your costs in your build, like going into the layer tech department, you then take your layer. So you basically mined essentially, you build the 2 drones when you have like 90 gas or so. After you got speed, right? So I'll say it one more time just so because I'm kind of bouncing around. I don't want it too confusing. You mine 100 gas.
No, I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
yeah.
100 gas, remove 2.
Yeah, and then you get up to like 90 with the 1 drone, and then as you start 2 drones, you're gonna get to about 100 by the time 2 drones finish and go back in the gas, and that's when you start your layer on a standard defensive build.
Okay.
So it's pretty early still. Yeah, it's going to be still relatively pretty early in the game. It's going to be probably like around almost 4 minutes when you take a layer.
Okay.
Like maybe like 340. You'll see. It's
I remove kind of late from my gas and stuff sometimes.
Yeah. No.
I just forget.
It's all good. Yeah, like you can see in this game. Like for instance, if we really look at yours for a second here. Oh my goodness. It's fucking, I hate replays sometimes and they go all the way back to like have to count up again.
Yeah.
So you took a gas pool at 1817, which is perfect, you know, right? And then you put drones on the gas. You didn't prioritize it first, which is, I love it, because that means you're prioritizing your resources of minerals, which is defensively playing it already. And then you got 100 gas, and you took 2 drones off just after you got 100 gas. So this is perfect. Yeah, this is perfect. Like, this is great. So yeah, I mean, and you can see you mined 100 gas with this one drone in this game by about 350. So yeah, like this is exactly what it would look like normally. You're doing a proper version of what it would be like in a speedling style build, because now you have 100. Now you'd be starting your layer. So this would be again, it's a speedling style though, but so this would need you to have a lot more scouting than you do. Like you need to have some awareness as to what's going on in his main base already, at least. Like an overlord needs to be used here, speedlings need to be used here, all these kinds of things, like we already talked about. So it's just more intense on you to be consistently moving around the map and shit. And then you can see as well you're fully saturated here, so 2 of these drones should be going back on that gas right now, and you should be starting to saturate your 3rd base as well for a speedling style. And then you're scouting to know when you need to make lings, and it changes every game, because anyone who tells you always make lings at this time, once you start playing speedling based styles, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like make it so now if it's a safety unit and it's a safety unit because your opponent is going to attack you, like let's say it's a Terran and he's got Hellions, and you make a safety amount of lings, which is very standard, that's normal. But if someone says, okay guys, every time we get to 3 minutes and 55 seconds we're going to make 30 Zerglings, it's things like that are questionable. You got to scratch your head and be like, okay, why? Am I going to attack him every game, or what am I doing? Like, why am I making so many lings? Do I not scout my opponent? So speedling styles definitely fluctuate how you use your larva all the time, because if you play against Stargate build, if you play against Robo, if you play against Council, these can change what you want to do with your lings and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I don't recommend you do speedling styles yet. That's something I think you should do that maybe in like once you get to Diamond, or at least Platinum 1 close to Diamond.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No.
All right, man. Well, I will be making this a VOD, and I'll be posting it to YouTube, and then by tomorrow probably I'll send you another message in the Discord private chat we have right now, and then I'll just link you the VOD essentially, and you can watch it again as many times as you want. So in case you forgot something I said, yeah, you can just hear me say it again, and you just get refreshes on it. And then yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to come with this lesson with you, just going, okay, well your macro needs to be improved. Really, it's just your creep spread. Like legit, your macro is good, man. Keep doing it, and you'll improve faster.
Like sometimes some games I have good creep spread, like, and some games I just don't do it. Like I don't know, it's up and down with the creep spread. But I'm not consistent with the creep spread. Yeah,
no, the better it is, like once you start getting it really down and you have lots of it, there's so much indirect control it gives you in the game, rather than just saying, oh, it gives me vision and mobility. It gives you control by disrupting their builds too, because you fuck over how they move their armies around the map, because it sets up so many more ways you can attack them, and it also, if you have really good creep spread, it fucks up how they expand.
Yeah.
So it is amazing to have good creep spread. It's like a hallmark stat for every good Zerg player. It's required at higher level play. Any Zerg who's like masters with creep spread that's kind of meh is such an easy Zerg to kill. Like there's Zergs that you literally play against and you're like, is this guy actually masters? Like, all right, that was not that hard. But then you play a Zerg who's got a fucking monstrous creep spread and you're like, is this guy insane? Is he a Smurf? Well, Jesus Christ, it's so hard to stop this guy. It's literally the biggest skill stat for Zerg that you start to see eventually, because it's hard to manage while you do everything else, but if it's really good, it changes how much control over the game you have in a good way for you.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, have a great rest of your day, dude, or like a good night, and
yeah, I'm actually going to bed soon.
Yeah, sounds good. And dude, thanks for doing a coaching lesson, and like I said, I'll have this posted to you by like tomorrow or something.
Yeah, cool. It was fun, and thanks for posting so much good videos on YouTube.
Yeah, no worries. Dude, thanks for watching, man. And I'm glad you're enjoying the game.
Yeah, it's actually a blast when it's not bullshit stuff happening.
Yeah, no, it only gets more fun, honestly. When you start actually really learning the game even more in depth at a higher level, it gets even more fun. And the cool thing about it too is if you get really good at StarCraft 2, it'll only open up so many more avenues for you as well. To like, if you let's say you love RTS and you want to play like the next RTS game that comes out as well, maybe in a couple of years, like a Frost Giant Studios game or something like that, you'll have such a better understanding of that game right off the bat. So, and I feel like RTS is one of the hardest games you can play as well in terms of a genre.
Yeah, this is the first RTS I played.
Yeah, it only make you good at all the games you play. Literally, this game requires so many skill sets to be good at, and if you go play anything else, you'll immediately be like, I understand shit so much faster than all these other people that play this game on average. But yeah, man, have a good night. Much love, and
thank you.
Yeah, take it easy, man.
Yeah, bye.
All right, guys. Boom. That has been a coaching lesson with Mire. I appreciate it, dude. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. And guys, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Hope you guys learned some stuff. But until next time, have a good night. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. And good luck to you guys in your own games. See you guys next time.